Hi, this is Sean Henricksen here at the Sean Henricksen Law Firm, where we help good people like you avoid the devastating consequences of criminal charges. Today, we're talking about what happens if you refuse a breathalyzer when you're arrested for DWI. Before we get to that, we do have a free download for you. It's 5 things you should be doing right now if you've been arrested. You can click down in the description below. There's a link there, and we'll send that right out to you. So what does happen if you refuse a breathalyzer? And before we get to that, what is a breathalyzer? So if you end up getting arrested for DWI, then the police are going to ask you if you will submit to a breath test. And the breathalyzer machine is a machine that's down at the jail. And so once you're arrested, they take you to jail. They're going to have you blow into this machine called the breathalyzer. And that machine is going to give them a readout of what your blood alcohol or your breath alcohol is. And if your breath alcohol is 0.08 or higher, that's one way they can try and show that you were intoxicated at the time that you were driving. So what are the reasons why you may or may not want to take a breathalyzer test? And the main reason to not take one is just that it's not that accurate. So there are a lot of reasons why you may get an inaccurate result from the breath test. The first of those is that the margin of error is just a bigger margin of error if you compare it to like a blood test, which is a much more accurate way of finding out somebody's blood alcohol. The other thing is that if you could have alcohol still in your mouth, which when you take the test, and that can give you a higher result than you should have. Another reason why it's not as accurate is that since you're blowing into the machine, if you have any alcohol that's still in your mouth, then that can give you a higher result. So if you burp or if you had, anything like that, or even if you have like a dental device which may hold alcohol or any other liquids, then that's going to give you an inaccurate result and probably a higher result than you should have. So those are definitely some reasons not to take it. Some reasons you may want to take it are, for example, if you haven't had any alcohol at all to drink, then that may be a reason to take it. And that's whether you're completely sober or if you had marijuana or some other drug and that's why you may be a little intoxicated, then both of those may be reasons why you want to take the breath test as opposed to the blood test, which they're also going to search for drugs in addition to alcohol. Another thing that you want to keep in mind when you're making that decision about whether or not to take a breath test is that if you refuse a breath test after you have been arrested for DWI, then DPS is going to try and suspend your driver's license. Now, if you take a breath test and you're below 0.08 or higher, they're going to try and suspend it also. But if you may be in that area where you're below 0.08 or you don't have any alcohol at all in your system, then that may prevent you from getting your license suspended. So what is going to happen if you refuse that breath test? If you're in a larger county or city here in Texas, then they're going to try and do a blood draw. And the way that they're going to do that is that they're going to get a search warrant to draw your blood. That search warrant is going to say that there's evidence of a crime within your blood, that you have alcohol in your blood, or that they have reason to believe that you have alcohol in your blood, and that alcohol in your blood is evidence of you of the DWI that you were arrested for. So in large counties, that's probably what's going to happen. And once the judge signs off on that, then they're going to do a blood draw. And instead of having a breath test showing how much alcohol you may or may not have in your system, then they'll have a blood test instead. If you're in a smaller county, then they may not have the resources to do a blood test on everybody that gets arrested and refuses a breathalyzer. So if you're in a smaller county, you may want to refuse anyway, especially if you know that it's a county that they're not doing blood tests on. And if that is the case for you, that doesn't necessarily mean your case is getting dismissed or going away automatically. They can still try showing that you were intoxicated by the loss of your mental or physical faculties, but it is a much harder case for them to prove when you compare it to a DWI where they've got a blood or breath test showing that your blood alcohol level is 0.08 or higher. The other thing that I mentioned before is that DPS is going to try and suspend your driver's license if you were arrested for DWI and if you refuse that blood or breath test. I hope that that was helpful information for you. If you have any questions about what happens if you refuse a breathalyzer, or if you're being charged with a crime here in San Antonio, whether it's DWI or anything else, I actually have a link down in the description where you can schedule a consultation without even having to call us. Just click on that. You can fill out the information, schedule a time, and we will have that free consultation with you. Or if you prefer to call, our phone number is 210-942-4997. We'd be happy to discuss your case with you, let you know how we may be able to help you out, and answer any questions that you may have. I hope you have a great day.